Ryan Blaney holds off Josh Berry and Bubba Wallace to claim his third win of the season. Meanwhile, others see their chase hopes vanish after New Hampshire. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Talkin NASCAR. I'm your host, Andrew. Today, we are going to be reviewing the Dollar Tree 301 from Loudon, New Hampshire and New Hampshire Motor Speedway. A very interesting race we had today on August 23rd, Sunday afternoon in New Hampshire. Started off with some rain, finished in the dry. We'll cover it all every step of the way. But let's go ahead and get straight into it. And yeah, this was a little bit of a wacky race, a race that had it all, in my opinion. Obviously, started off with a little bit of a rain delay, with some showers moving in and out of the area very quickly. Took a little while for the track to get all dried up, but eventually all the standing water was gone, and we could get back to racing on a wet surface and the wet weather tires, which is something that has been seen now twice in the last couple years at New Hampshire. Go back to 2024, where the race didn't start on wets, but it certainly finished under wet weather conditions, with Christopher Bell holding off to sweep the weekend, winning on the Cup Series side of things on Sunday, and then winning in the O'Reilly Series on Saturday. And even still, with the wet weather tires, we were still seeing some drivers struggling for grip. I mean, before the lap one was even over, Tyler Reddick spun out coming off of turn four, and he sent himself to the back, lost all his track position. Carson Hocevar, on the initial pace laps before we had our delay, as the rain continued to come down, Hocevar spun out off turn four after trying to, test the grip limits, and found and exceeded the limit, and obviously spun out. And then when the race did eventually get going under green flag conditions, after Tyler Reddick spun out and all, we had drivers were having to conserve those wet weather tires, because quickly the middle lane became the dominant lane early on, with it being the line that dried out as fast as it could, and everyone was driving in that lane. But soon drivers were having to venture out and search for different lines to cool off their tires and search for wet weather condition, or for cooler winter surfaces, so the tires wouldn't completely give out on them. But as the race went on and we got into both stage 2 and stage 3, the track dried out, the weather got much better, it cleared up a little bit, the sun came out a little bit more towards the end, and teams were allowed to move to slicks even after, I believe, the end of stage 1, or before the end of stage 1, just before it. Slicks went on the cars, and they were on slicks for the rest of the race. And I think we truly got to see what we've become used to seeing at New Hampshire. It's a difficult track to pass at, and pit strategy is the name of the game. There were not many cars out on track that could, work their way up through the field. I mean, I'm not saying passing was impossible, but it was just very difficult to complete overall. And when you jump ahead to the final stage, it came down to, in the end, pit road, what strategies were taken and how pit stops were executed. Ryan Blaney, the guy that went on to win this race, lost this race on pit road, it seems like, early on. Though he was able to work his way back forward, Jonathan Hassler's crew chief tried to redeem himself by taking 2 tires on the final pit stop to try and make something happen, and that call ultimately ended up working. Meanwhile, Bubba Wallace, William Byron, who ended up wrecking out because he had a loose wheel, all took 4 tires. Josh Berry, who probably was the fastest car out on track in this race, or at least one of the fastest cars out on track, took 2. I had a problematic stop. Ryan Blaney, again, had a problematic stop earlier in the race and lost all his track position. This was just a very all around weird race, but ultimately in the end, it was pit strategy and track position that it really all came down to. This phrase popped into my head as I was thinking up and writing up notes for this one. Ryan Blaney, in most of his wins, have won and lost each race on pit road. And this one lost it on pit road early with a pit road mistake by his crew, and then won it again on pit road by making a different pit strategy call with 2 tires. I'll have more to say on what I think overall about this race when it comes to the on-track racing at the end. But let's go ahead and take a look at the top finishers from this race. Ryan Blaney picks up the victory, started inside the top 10, won stage 2 in this one, was just very solid throughout the entirety of stage 1 as well, continuing to slowly and methodically work his way forward. Again, like I already mentioned, lost that track position early on in this one because of an error on pit road, thanks to his crew, which has become sort of a theme now for Ryan Blaney, and even Ty Gibbs you can throw into that conversation. Has good speed every week, but a pit road mistake. But it's clear that Ryan Blaney is able to recover and bounce back from those pit road mistakes. Bubba Wallace, same thing. Kind of like Blaney, had a recovery story in this one. Started outside the top 20, but slowly worked his way up through the field. Had good speed in the car, like his teammate of Reddick, who finished down in 8th after starting on the pole. And Reddick had a comeback story in this one. I mean, again, spun out on lap 1, slowly and methodically worked his way forward, ends up with a top 10 in this one. Josh Berry, again, overcame a bad final pit stop to finish in 3rd, started on the front row. Good day for Josh Berry. He has continued over the last couple weeks to say, hey, I deserve to have a cup ride and I deserve to be in consideration at the bare minimum to be your driver for next year. Great stuff from Josh Berry. Christopher Bell in 4th and Kyle Larson in 5th. Finally, a good day for this 5 team of Kyle Larson. Had a good one in Richmond last weekend, but was not, the number 1 car out on track in Richmond. Same could be said about, this weekend in New Hampshire, but won a stage. This was probably the most competitive week we've seen out of the 5 team in quite some time, I would say. Gibbs and Hamlin in 6th and 7th place. Good solid days for them. Ryan Preece, huge day for him when it comes to gaining points on the Chase Cut line, finished inside the top 10. And then how about Noah Gragson finishing with the 10th place finish, his second top 10 on the year. Noah Gragson has been showing up with some decent speed over the last couple weeks. So shout out to that number 4 team. After Noah getting that contract extension for next year, he has really turned things up. Maybe some pressure has come off the shoulders of Noah Gragson. Brad Keselowski finished just outside the top 10. Again, another driver that needs points to make the chase. Didn't cut much into that chase gap, but still has a chance in Daytona next week. Austin Cindric, Zane Smith, Joey Logano, and Alex Bowman round out the top 15. Zane Smith at one point in this race was inside the top 10, and Joey Logano just had to work his way forward throughout this entire race. Didn't have a lot of pace on the weekend, but was able to carve out a quality race. McDowell, Suarez, Buscher, Hocevar was the first car to finish a lap down. Hocevar finished in 3rd in stage 1, but then obviously got into a bit of an accident. He was involved in 2 different cautions in this one. Early on, I believe in stage 2, made a mistake coming on, down the front straightaway, just trying to clear himself with Connor Zilich, ended up making some contact. Hosfar spun around. Zilich was involved. Several other drivers as well were involved. Zilich also was involved in another accident. Riley Herbst spun out coming into turn 3 and 4, hit the outside wall pretty hard. Zilich just plowed right in there, so bit of a mistake there on Connor's part. But overall, good solid points day from Carson, but not a great finishing result. Same for Shane Van Gisbergen, was up front in the beginning of this one, but faded back as the race went on. The track continued to dry out. So tough day for Shane Van Gisbergen, finishing in 20th. Then Chase Elliott and Chase Briscoe, the 2 chases, finished in 25th and 26th. Elliott just did not have pace once again today. After a really good run in Richmond last week, just zero pace in that number 9 car. And then Chase Briscoe didn't start great, was slowly recovering, and on that final restart was up front battling with Ryan Blaney, but then faded as the run went on and did not have a good finish. Finished in 26th. Not a great day for Chase Briscoe. William Byron, a Hendrick car, finished in 30th. Got some good, decent stage points in this one. In stage 1, finished in 4th. Unfortunately, in stage 2, like I already mentioned, after a pit stop in stage 3, had a loose wheel on the left rear, came off the car heading into a turn, and Byron was sent spinning around, received some damage, and that ultimately ended his day. But it seems like the car was trending in the wrong direction as the day went on, so tough break for William Byron. John Hunter Nemechek and Eric Jones, the 2 legacy drivers. Nemechek driving the number 40 car this weekend instead of his normal 42. Finished in 31st. Had some mechanical issues in this one. Same with Eric Jones. He had a transaxle issue towards the end of this one. Finished behind the wall in this one. And then Ross Chastain had a really tough end to his chase hopes. Ended up having, I believe, a tire rub issue in this one. He entered 63 points below the cut line entering in this race and was riding a wave of really solid races, but needed another one if he wanted to have a chance at Daytona. But with finishing so many laps down in last place, this unfortunately did take Chastain and everyone else behind him in the standings out of contention for the race win. Or, excuse me, for the a spot in the chase. Let's go ahead and take a look at the chase standings, however, mentioning that. We see now Denny Hamlin is still in at top the points, excuse me. Ryan Blaney now moves up into second in the standings, still 77 points behind Hamlin. Um, I don't think it's mathematically possible that Blaney gains 77 to take the regular season championship or the points lead from Hamlin. I think Hamlin has locked up the top spot no matter how many points Blaney scores. If Hamlin has a terrible day, he still will, I believe, get the regular season or excuse me, the I keep saying the regular season championship, the points lead heading into the chase. Because I think, if I remember correctly, the maximum you can score in a race is 76 with the fastest lap bonus included. So Hamlin, I think, has locked up the points lead in the chase. Blaney still in second, Ty Gibbs in third, Reddick in fourth. Bell moves up into fifth place, Briscoe back down to sixth, Larson up to seventh, Elliott's down to eighth, Logano and Buescher in ninth and 10th. I believe Logano moved down a spot, I believe, possibly. Hocevar in 11th, Byron in 12th, Suarez, Wallace, Cindric, and SVG all stay in their same positions. Now, I don't know which drivers are all locked into the chase. That will probably be something that gets shared to us later tonight or throughout the rest of the week, and I'll share with you guys probably later this week. But looking at the chase bubble and the drivers trying to make it in, Chastain on back, so 19th place on back, they are all mathematically eliminated. There is no mathematical way they can gain enough points to make it into the chase. They can still move up and down in the standings, but none of those drivers on back from 19th on back can make the chase, unfortunately. The two drivers that are still able to make it are the two RFK cars of Ryan Preece and Brad Keselowski, with Cindric and SVG being the final two drivers on the cut line. Cindric is plus 44 to Ryan Preece, so definitely not safe. Shane Van Gisbergen is up by 31 on Ryan Preece. Preece, first driver out, shaved about 20 points off his points deficit coming into this race. He is now out by 31, and then Brad Keselowski to Shane Van Gisbergen, he is out by 46 points. So Keselowski still has a chance, but he's going to need to pull something off incredible in Daytona. Same with Ryan Preece. Preece, it's a little bit more manageable being at 31. Keselowski in the 40s, definitely a little bit more of a gap to overcome and something that he'll have to really pull something out of a hat for if he wants to make the chase. But this is going to be difficult because Cindric, SVG, Preece, and Keselowski, they're all really good super speedway racers. Preece is in a good super speedway organization and manufacturer, but with the history that he has at Daytona, that might be a little difficult, more difficult for some, specifically Preece, than others to make the chase. So, yeah, Preece, he's gonna have to fight off the demons with Daytona that he has to make the 16 driver chase field after Daytona. But now let's go ahead and move on now to the final topic and final segment, whatever you want to call it, of the show. It is the race review rating for the Dollar Tree 301 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And honestly, I have mixed thoughts about this one. I'm not gonna lie. I want to say I like this race, but there's just a lot that is going against it, in my opinion. The stuff I liked is it had a lot of different things mixed into it. You had starting out wet weather, you had pit strategy, you had a lot of beating and banging, some classic short track racing. It was tough to pass. The things I don't really like about it is that, you know, the track position was at a premium. And that's the thing that, the next gen cars struggled with. And while we saw towards the end with Bubba Wallace and Josh Berry working their way up to the front and trying to run down Ryan Blaney, in the end, they couldn't get it done. Now, Bubba, made a mistake, smoked the tires going into 3 and 4, lost a lot of position, extended the gap from 1/10 of a second down to 3 or 4 tenths of a second. So, he made his job difficult. He made a mistake. But I think it should be, it's fair to call into question because we've seen this several weeks now in a row. We saw this last weekend at Richmond where the second place car was trying to run down the first place driver, with Briscoe trying to run down Logano last weekend, but couldn't, was in striking distance, but couldn't get there in time. In this one, Bubba Wallace got even closer, in my opinion, made a mistake, and couldn't run him back down, even though we saw that, Blaney had a tire disadvantage. He took 2 tires. Meanwhile, Barry and Wallace all took 4 and had a tire advantage, yet they weren't able to run down Ryan Blaney, and that's fair to say. I do think, though, that overall on short tracks in general, and New Hampshire included in this one, the racing has gotten better to where it's not as dependent on one line, but you still have the you know, glaring thing pointing out to you that a driver on 2 tires shouldn't be able to win as convincingly as Ryan Blaney did over Bubba and Josh Berry in this one. Now, yeah, Blaney on the long run kind of got killed by those 2 tires, but was able to hang on. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this one. I would like to see, if anything, a more thrilling side by side battle between Bubba and Blaney or Josh Berry to enter the conversation. But overall, we just didn't get that. So there was good racing. It just could have been a lot better. There's a lot of what ifs about the racing and about how this race could have ended that I think sours the taste a little bit for me, at least. So that being said, I'm gonna give this race here today, the Dollar Tree 301 from New Hampshire, the Magic Mile. I'm gonna give it a 65%. Wasn't a great race. It was just fine, a little bit above, average if you're going on a scale of, 1 out of 10, I guess, but it's, not getting a failing grade, it's getting a passing grade, but it's still not a great grade, I guess, if you're looking at school grades. So, I don't know. I'm conflicted. I'm not sure exactly what to give it this weekend. You guys are going to have to let me know down in the comments what you think the Dollar Tree 301 from New Hampshire should get for a score on the race review rating. So, let me know down in the comments what you think. But that will do it for this episode of Talkin NASCAR, everyone. Hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for tuning in. Next week, the final race of the NASCAR Cup Series regular season at Daytona should be a fun one. Under the lights, Saturday night racing should be fun to watch. So, yeah, stay tuned for more on that. More news coming later on this week. Power rankings will be coming up later this week as well. And, of course, stay tuned for all the news that you can expect to hear from me about on this NASCAR show. So, if you haven't already followed the show, make sure you do so you don't miss any of those upcoming episodes. And go check out Talking Sports with Miles and Andrew. I'll have that show linked down in the description below. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.